Live. What is up, RJ? Welcome to the Content Marketing Hacks podcast. I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank you so much, man, for having me. Finally, we made it over here.
Yeah, the last time we met, we had a bad internet connection. Hopefully, it doesn't happen for now. Okay, so
Hope for the best.
first off, yeah. So first off, RJ, I really want to congrats for publishing the first book. Right? Is that your first book?
Yeah,
So
yeah, correct.
yeah, yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so the book is called Days in Decades. Wait, no, Decades in Days, right?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
decades
Yeah,
in days.
Decades in Days. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was such a good book actually. And right, so before we talk about the book, and we have met before, and I see that you have come a long way actually. The first time we met, it was in podcasting group, right, from Jamie. I remember,
Yeah,
all the members in that group. All the members in that group, we were competing against each other to win some prize, right? And I remember that
I remember.
you never stop. I remember you never stop commenting. Like, wow, did this guy even sleep or not? Did you sleep? Did you sleep or not at that time?
I'm a night owl. I was like super focused. I was like, I have to get this course out there. It was like so catchy, and I saw like there are some people sort of get competitive a lot. I was like, I have to get it. I have to get it. I have to try something else. So I slept, but slept little bit, and I had some sort of advantage of time zones. Since they were in US and I'm on the other side of the world, so I had kind of an advantage of that as well. So yeah, so I kind of not sleeping that much.
Wow, I like that persistent, right? Did you win any prize at that time? I don't remember. Oh, you win one. What was it that you win?
Yeah, I do. I was the top. Yeah, I was in top three. I think there was a course out there around content. I think content masterclass, something like that. It was in the top three, and yeah, that was the prize that I got being in the top three out there. So yeah, I was this close for being on the top second and first. Yeah.
Wow, that was cool. That was cool. So, RJ, as I mentioned in intro, we are gonna talk about how do you get all these top entrepreneurs to be on your show, right? Or how do you get people, all these top marketers, to work with you, right? So, before first off, I want to start with when you were starting out, right? When you were starting out from nothing, how did you get in front of these big influencers?
Yeah. So actually, I haven't thought about doing any sort of the interviews or show because when you start out in the total other side of the world, you have a different sort of mindset, and you don't have that kind of a leverage out there being in the tier three country and then like start to interview these like multiple 7 8 figure entrepreneurs. So you don't have any sort kind of I was interview that I really did was with Alex Elliott. She had a one group away challenge launch, and I did the very first interview on my show itself. It wasn't official version of my show, but I really wanted it to be doing live, and it was very first time that I really published in front of the camera as well. Because I really wanted it to be doing live, and it was very first time that I really published in front of the camera as well. Because I really wanted to be on the camera and I wanted to surpass all of my objections I had. One of the common objections I had was probably not my work. What if it's not? If it's not repetitive or not of you, there are gonna be some people here and there who's gonna be like, "Hey, your English sucks." That's okay for me. I don't have any problem with it. Those people probably not gonna matter to me as well. So that was the first thing. was my very first subject, which I tried to overcome in my very first interview. The second subjection I had was I don't look pretty on camera. And I was like, I still don't, but 2 really years of that reason, I want to have a perfect camera put my. But when I started, I had nothing. Like, no, it was complete rough. It was 4 a.m. in the morning. I had one hand free of PlayStation 4. I was using my webcam, and that was it because I had it to start imperfect. If you don't start from the worst, there is not the best. You know, so you have to start from the worst in order to become the best in anything. So you start worst. So I wanted to start worst out there. So when I started to interview Alex, and then I got like 2 to 3 guests on the show. Even during that time, I was watching some of my good friends or some of the people I follow was doing awesome interviews, like getting huge guests like Josh Forty. I'm interviewing Josh Forty tomorrow, which is huge. And Josh Forty was getting like so many
Yeah.
awesome, but they weren't like kind of like consistent. And I'm not saying against some of it, but I didn't saw any frequency of being consistent doing show. So it helped me to get motivated. But even Russell Brunson talks about have your own distribution channel, the power of your own distribution channel, everything. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do my show and everything out there, even though I don't know how to do it. I'm gonna figure it out everything later on. On January 2020, I reached out to Spencer. I was like, hey man, I would love to have you on my show. And if people don't know who Spencer Makeup is, he's a 7-figure affiliate marketer, one of the top affiliates in ClickFunnels, the $1 million affiliate. So I reached out to Spencer after Facebook group since I know he's like super engaging in his Facebook group, engaged a lot. Finally managed to end up in his inbox that everyone should do. And I reached out to Spencer and I was like, hey man, I would love to have you on my show, but not now since it's funnel hacking lifetime. So we're gonna do it like almost around 2 months later. I was like, okay, cool.
Mm.
Let's do it after 2 months, but I want to have you as my first guest. I'm not gonna do any show. So I waited for 2 months around,
Wow.
and then their Traffic Secrets launch came up, and everyone was like providing their own bonuses, their own offers. Spencer came up with his awesome offer as well, and I was like, hey Spencer, if you give me 30 minutes of your time. Again, he's a 7-figure affiliate marketer. He don't need my 40 bucks commission
Yeah.
to even provide me 30 minutes of his time. He don't really owe me anything. But still, he was so humble and so kind. He finally reached out to me on DM. Hey, practice. But he didn't do that with the intent that you had the intention of booking me up on a show. You already, I already owed you that. So don't buy the box set just because you wanted to have me on the show. And he literally said that. But I was like, man, I'm a man of my words. I said you, I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna buy it. I just went there. I buy the trilogy box set because I wanted to make sure what I say, I do that thing as well. It was nothing to him, but I still bought it. I wanted to show my level of respect for him. Gratitude is important. So I was super nervous as well, but I really messed the show up. People don't understand whatever you do, that 30 minutes you spend the time on your show with the guest plays the most part when you're doing your show, especially. So I was asking a ridiculous question with Spencer. Questions are like, hey Spencer, could you tell me is that backdrop is made of wood or plastic? I was asking these questions to Spencer, which is crazy.
Oh my goodness.
And that was a crazy thing that I really asked. And some people even said to me when I was doing recent press tours, some people said that, hey, if you asked that question, probably there were other people who had that exact same question in mind as well. That's the reason you probably asked. I was like, even though I asked that question, that wasn't the perfect spot for me to ask that ridiculous question. But I did. When the interview
Mm-hmm.
ended, I felt like that I really messed up that interview. I felt like the Spencer never gonna like me. Spencer never gonna respond to me. Spencer gonna hate me. That was the thoughts that it came to my mind. So this was kind of my first experience of me doing the show. But when I became consistent, when I started to get more guests, my second guest was that Pushake. Then I got Funnel Dog. Then I got like other so many people out there. It's like 55. I can't even remember so many names now. That's how I started to overcome everything. To become the best, you have to deal with the worst.
Mm. Yeah. Wow. I love that quote. To become the best, you have to be the worst. You know what? I'm going to make a shirt out of that.
Yup.
Write it on here, right?
Do it, man. Do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, and then RJ Ahmad. Wow, that was so cool. Yeah. So okay, that's how you start. That's how you start a show. And how why did you came into the Dream 100 space? And how did you come up with the course of Dream 100?
Yeah.
When did you start teaching that?
So initially, when I started doing the show, I didn't had any plan that I'm gonna teach Dream 100, because even though, like, if people don't know what Dream 100 is, it's essentially a concept of how you build a relationship with top influencers in your market. So in the long run, they're gonna promote your products. That's what Dream 100 is. So my plan wasn't to do anything like Dream 100 to teach other people, because there are people like Russell Brunson, there are people like Dana Derricks. So so I didn't had any plan. But when I started to do shows, people started to notice that I'm really doing Dream 100 effectively using interviews. And
Mm.
especially, I started to have that leverage that, hey, me being on the top tier three countries, being an Asian, started to get these top entrepreneurs who are like the industry leaders in our market. I started to get them on our show, but not just get them, but also build relations with them. That was the thing that people started to notice at the moment, and people started to be like, hey, you're doing Dream 100. I was like, yeah, I'm doing that. Even though I knew what it was, I wasn't was talking about, hey, go and buy my course. I didn't even have the intent of making that course anything. So people started to talk about it a lot, and there was a time that came up when, let's say in ClickFunnels group, people ask about Dream 100, people started to mention me over there. I started to realize that,
Mm.
hey, people really want this stuff. So then I came about, hey, what if I create a masterclass where I teach you how to master Dream 100 but using interviews? Because here's the thing, I want to add one more thing out there into it, is when I started to talk about Dream 100 a lot, my intent was never to drag down or pull down Dana or Russell Brunson. They are the people who literally made Dream 100 what it's all about in this space right now. They made that concept
Mhm.
as a living example of it. So I really don't wanted to drag down any of them. What I really wanted to do is I wanted to narrow it down into one more perspective, that it can be done in this way as well, and let me show you how to do it. Okay, so that was what my intention was. And when I started to teach Dream 100 a lot, there was a time when Dana Derricks reached out to me, and that was the craziest thing happened to me as well, because I never thought about that. Dana Derricks reached out to me and he said to me that, hey man, I'm so glad how you're successfully doing Dream 100 and keep doing on that work. Now, if you're getting that
Wow.
compliment from a guy who literally do everything about Dream 100,
Yeah.
that's a huge comment. And I'm not talking about, or I'm not bragging at all, but when Dana reached out to me, it stated me that what I'm doing works. I don't need any validation now, what I'm really doing. So that's how I really started to talk about way more about Dream 100. So yeah, like that's what people, really know me at the moment.
Uh-huh. Wow, that's cool. Did he also purchase the course?
He didn't, but here's the thing. He created a special training in my masterclass of all you need to know about Dream 100. And now think of it in this way. If he thought about me as a competitor, or if I positioned myself as a competitor, then he would have even said yes. I got him two times. One time he did training, which I highly appreciable, for that. He did a training in my masterclass, and he also
Wow.
I got him on my show as well. So he said that I really don't do these type of things more often, but he really did that for me, which was huge. So he did a training. He
Yeah.
didn't about the masterclass. He don't need to, but he did a training in the masterclass of the things you need to know about Dream 100. So yeah,
Wow, that okay, that's even more powerful. He did a
is
training on your masterclass. Dang. Then okay,
wow.
so that's cool. So what, when you reach out to them, right? What makes you unique? I mean,
I
I want to
think
know how do you
yeah, yeah.
position yourself as a unique person?
I think when you talking about when he did the training in my course, is that correct?
Uh, I mean, like when you reach out to your Dream 100, what
Yeah.
makes you stand out so
Oh,
that
okay.
they, yeah, so that they
Yeah,
want to partner up with you. Yeah.
yeah. So here's the thing. I really wanted to, every person in the space, especially the people who are industry leaders, they know each of them. Everyone knows everyone on the top. And that is one
Mm-hmm.
of the things that really said by one of my really good friends. He's also the part of the book as well. But he said that everyone knows everyone to the top, and that started to make sense. Let's say if I'm getting, let's say Steve Larson on my show, if I'm getting Steve, and let's say he loved to be on my show, he knows my show exists, he know my existence. Third thing, if probably he's gonna reshare that content. There are people like Russell who's gonna follow him. There are people like Marley who's gonna follow him. The people gonna be like Marin Golden's gonna follow him. They're gonna watch that particular thing. So after gonna watch like multiple times on different people out there, they're gonna understand that I exist in the space. So when I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
reach out to them now, now they know that I exist. So oftentimes it happens that when I reached out to any guest and we got on the backstage and they were like, RJ, we saw you interviewed so many of our friends. I was like, yeah, let me know who is the person who's left. Let me know about that. So that already creates a report for me, and it really helped me to connect with a lot of Dream 100 out there, even work on some stuff out there with them as well. uh, you know and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
for me what makes myself unique is I literally position my show, which not only get them sort of more exposure, even though they don't need it, more exposure, but also help them to be more good in spreading wisdom. I am really good in asking good questions, and they provide good answers, so I create a good experience for them in a show. And when they love it, they love to be stay connected with me. If they don't, they're probably not going to get connected with me then. So that's how I really
Mm-hmm.
made something that really unique for myself. So I really focus on those 30 minutes I really spend with the guest, because that 30 minutes play a lot role. People just don't focus on that. They just don't want to do interview, or they just want to get the guest, and that's it. I make sure that the guest who gets on my show have a good experience when they get on my show.
Wow. Wow. Okay. And how do you make the experience the best?
Yeah, so kind of funny out there that I have a few days. I think it's like probably a week from now. I did a platinum affiliate mastermind event. I was a speaker in that event with guys like Peng Joon, which was nothing but honor
Yeah. Yeah, I saw
for
that.
me. Yeah, which is huge, by the way. Yeah, and that's the thing I really talked about in the training. I was talking about how you have to do the actual interview. So I have a whole framework. So what I really do is I make sure that I ask good questions. I make sure I do a research, of the overlap questions. I don't want it to be like, hey, everyone is asking the exact same questions again and again and again and again. Probably it's your first time asking that question, but it's not your guest's first time. You have to make their experience better. So I make
Mm.
sure I listen their interviews. I make sure I ask questions that is related to them on the personal level, which invokes them as well. Talk about it a lot, and these type of things. And that is also one of the reasons out there how it makes good experience for them. If you are not energetic, if you do not know what you're talking about, if you haven't done your research what's happening in their current state of business, if you don't do research what you need to ask, if you're asking generic question, let's say you're asking, what is your favorite book? What type of question are you asking? Like, really? You have a person who made 7 figures or like 8 figures, and you're asking this question? Does that make sense? Why can't you Google what books does Bill Gates read? You can surely can Google that. So, like, don't ask these type of questions. So that is the reason why they really loved to be my on my show, and that is the reason why some of them came on my show multiple times. Like Catherine Jones was on my show multiple times. Jonathan Montoya, he's also like a good 6 figure affiliate marketer, got on my show multiple times. Steve Larson got on my show multiple times, which he really said that he don't get on shows more often, 2 times on screen. But he got on my show. Why? Because he really loved my show, loved the experience of it, really knew who I was. So her assistant reached out to me, and we booked the show. So you have to make sure you crush that show.
Nice. So okay, so the key point here is to ask the better questions, right? That's one
Yeah,
of the that's one of the ways to make a interview better. And yeah, now that you said it, I think the questions are yeah. But anyway, so so now that you have them, you have built a relationship with them, and what are you going to do with that relationship?
yeah. So I want to add one thing is into it. in the long run, I want to be, first of all, their friends. I want to convert
Mm-hmm.
that a relationship of me having them as their Dream 100 to a friend mode, because I want to be the part of their world, but I won't have them to be the part of my world. Okay, so that's what I usually do when I have my Dream 100. I try to become more open with them, so that it start to build me a more friendly connection with them. So you have to become friend first in order for you to ask anything. The next thing is leveraging them. But again, leverage, don't use. Use is a negative connotation out there where everyone's saying use them. Leverage, it's like using, when you say using the audience, using them, it sounds negative. When you say leverage, you're kind of like helping them as well, and you're also helping yourself as well with something. When I work on that particular book, there are so many people out there who don't have their own book. So when I reached out to them and I told them, hey, I would love to have you in my book as a chapter, some of them were like, dude, you're 21, you're writing a book? And there's multi seven and eight figure entrepreneurs. Not everyone have a book. So that is one of the things that, they've already embedded in
Mm.
my thing for kind of forever. Ever since, the time being where the book is gonna stay, they're gonna stay in that particular thing, So I am doing something for them, and probably they're gonna be a moment. I've sent all of them the copies of the book. You're probably gonna see some of them gonna promote the copies, or you're gonna see on their profile when they're gonna receive it. That's what it happens.
Yeah.
I really provided them value, and then they're gonna provide kind of me value in that sort of context.
Yeah, yeah, I love that how you provide value first to them, right? You make them, in terms of making, letting them get more exposure, right? So yeah, that's cool. So I want to know when is it the right time to ask them? You, let's say you have leveraged them, you have built relationship with them, and you kind of want to leverage that, right? So when is it the right time to ask that?
I think when we talk about like for them to do the promotion and everything, you ask them when you know the answer is probably gonna be a yes. Okay, and I want to add one more thing out there. You have to ask. That's the first thing. Even though
Mm-hmm.
I was reading a book, Sell Like Crazy by Sabi Subri. It's awesome book, but in that book it states a no is an interest. Okay, if someone says no, it's better to get a no rather than getting ignored, getting ghosted, getting a no, getting nothing as an answer. If you Even if you get
Yeah.
no, you can turn that no to a yes. You can ask someone out there, hey, what is going to be the perfect time where that no is going to be a yes. So in any state, you have to ask them when you kind of know that answer is probably going to be yes. So you get to know about that stuff 100%. You can't ask someone to promote right away when you reach out to them on the very first time. 100% they're not going to do it either ways. They're going to
Mm-hmm.
do, or they're going to promote it when you really know that's the time to do it. And let me make it more clear for other people out there. When you know that you
Mm-hmm.
made so much connections with them, when you know they are super happy with you, super satisfied with you as a person, and there is something for them as well they at the moment, and when you ask them to do it, most of the time they're gonna say yes to it. And even if let's say you're reaching out to 100 people, even 10 of them gonna say yes, those 10 of them are gonna change your fortune. It's gonna change your life how to do it, because all it needs is one person to say yes. That's the main thing. So yeah, most people don't even reach out. Most people are always wondering like how to get guests on the show, how to do this, how to do that. You didn't even bother to reach out to those guests. You have to reach out
Yeah.
to them first.
Yeah.
That's the main thing.
Yeah, I love that. I remember I also had that kind of afraid of how do you say that
Yeah.
scarcity. I was afraid at that time. I also, so I know how it feels to reach out to these big people. Is it has a higher chance to get them to say no, but there's a strategy to get them to say yes. So I like how you get them to say yes at this stuff, right? So have you
Yeah.
asked them to do something? Uh, like, have you asked them to do some any promotion?
Well, even right now, I'm kind of doing the exact same thing that I'm talking about. I'm doing kind of a promotion. If I am getting putting them in the book, that's the first place. That's the kind of value that I'm providing. Second thing, what I'm doing is I'm sending them the copy of the book, me paying it. Okay, I'm paying for the copy, and when if I'm sending them the copy, if they're gonna read their chapter, if they're gonna love it, they're gonna love to share it as well. When you have to make sure you do the follow up correctly. So for myself out there,
Mm-hmm.
even in this case, that's a kind of a live case study. I'm doing it right now. So I'm sending them the copy. When the copy gets to their hands, I'm probably gonna do a follow up. Say, hey, I'm hoping that you're gonna love your copy out there. If you love it, don't forget to share with your people. I'm not saying promote. Share with the people out there. If you love it, share it with your peeps. Just do it. If they're gonna love it, they're gonna go in and share it with their people out there. And what happens if they do? When they're gonna share it, that's super simple. People gonna come into your funnel buying the copy of your books. So you have to ask, but you have to ask strategically. You have to ask in a way. Words play a lot of roles out there in our space and in general as well. If you ask them promote, if you ask them to share with the people, that's kind of a different thing, but ends up with the same thing out there.
Mm-hmm.
You getting me?
Yeah.
So yeah, so
Yeah.
that's what I'm exactly doing at this particular moment. I have ordered like 30 copies for sending my 30 Dream 100 who are the part of the book, and even like let's say 10 of them gonna do it. Some of them are like pure affiliate marketers. Some of them are like a 7-figure or 6-figure affiliate marketer. All they do is affiliate marketing.
Yeah.
Even only them gonna do it. It's like crazy results. So yeah, that's what I'm doing
Mm-hmm.
right now as well.
That's okay. First off, I want to say that's a really smart strategy because you are using a podcast to interview them, and then you make a book out of it. That's actually really smart. I have never thought about it that way.
Most of the
So
people haven't
okay.
thought about, to be very honest. Most of the people haven't thought about when I talked about this stuff in a platinum affiliate mastermind event there, and they were awesome people. They were like, was it even possible to do that? Was it even possible to convert your interviews content into a book? Wow, okay, that's crazy. So they really love that thing. No one mostly in our space have used it that exact same way. There are some books that are kind of similar, but it's not the exact same thing. Like let's say 30 Day Summit book, which you get in one funnel away challenge. But again, that summit was written first, and then it was recorded. It was written first by those guest speakers. Over here, this is spoken, and I just used their wisdom and turned it into a book. So they haven't done kind of
Mm-hmm.
nothing
Yeah.
apart from being on my show.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah, that's cool. And one thing I'm curious about is in your book you got Dave Woodward. Dave Woodward.
Yeah.
He's the CEO of ClickFunnels. How did you get him? Okay, that's
Well,
insane actually.
that's a really good question, by the way. How I really get Dave Woodward again? You have to create for any person you want to get on the show. You have to create your existence. First thing, his son, Parker Woodward. He's a really good friend of mine now. I got him on the show as well. He's also the part of the book as well. So again, like I have really built that sort of connection with him. And I became really good friend with him as well. And I knew that okay, what is the best way I can go in and reach out to Dave Woodward as well, even though if he's busy or even though something like that comes up. I knew who his assistant was. Like I reached out to her
Mm-hmm.
assistant. I was like, hey, I have interviewed Parker, which is his son. I've interviewed Parker. I would love to have Dave on my show as well. Let me know what his thoughts are. And he was like, cool, why not? Let's do it. Why so? Because I already got someone who's really connected to him. It was his son, kind of. And I'm not again talking about like juicing. It's like when you have guests on your show, you can just use that as a reference to get other people. Same what I did with Dave, and he really liked that interview. By the way, he really loved the show, and
Mm-hmm.
that's how I even reached out to him, and he said yes, also to be the part of the book, because I never wrote it the book completely randomly. I reached out to every guest just to make sure they say yes, just to make sure that I don't get into any legal problems after I launch the book. I don't want it to be in any sort of that mess. So all of them said yes. There was only one guy I don't want to name because of privacy. I respect that. I respect his decision because I still had so many other interviews. I still had so many other guests. So I would have chosen the other person. So that's how Dave said yes. And I finally got him and managed him to send the book as well. So yeah, that's how it really happened. Yeah, CEO Cliff Funnels.
Yeah, yeah. CEO of ClickFunnels is kind of close to Russell Brunson, and
Yeah.
yeah, Yeah. So,
Here's the crazy thing: he was actually with Russell before he got on the call with me on the interview. So he was with Russell,
wow.
and then he got on my interview after that. So he got bit late, but I was completely fine with that. But he was with Russell; he was working on that some stuff. So I was like, "Oh my god, that's crazy."
So Russell was behind him.
Not behind him, but he was like kind of he was with Russell Brunson at the moment, and then he came to do the show. So yeah, that's what he told me at the moment.
Ah, I see.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so you connect with the son first, with the Park Dave sons first, and you ask Parker to get his father to be interviewed. Is that right? Is
I
that kind
got
of like the
Parker.
process that you did?
I I got Parker on my show first. So when even I reached out to Parker Woodward on my show, he knew who I was, and even he got on my show. He watched some of my interviews. He saw my interview with Steve Larson. He saw my interview with Catherine Jones. And when we got on the show was pretty good. And we also talked a lot of stuff after the show end. Started to make that connection with him. When I started to build that connection, even that also helped me as well. So when I reached out to Dave's assistant, I just let her know that hey, I've interviewed Parker as well as some of my guests, and I also interviewed like so many other, let's say 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs. I would love to Dave on my show. Let me know what he said. And then bam, he said yes, and I just sent him the calendar, and we got Dave on the show.
Wow, that's nice. That's nice. I like the process. It's simple. It's not hard that one what most people think, right? It's simpler than I thought actually.
I
just
think
just
people
reaching
just
out,
don't
right?
take action. People just don't take action. That's the first place. And and other guests who want to be on your show, sometimes they don't have any problem being your first guest or second guest or third guest. But people would love to be on your show where you have a credibility. I wanted to have a credibility on my show. I wanted to make my show credible. So when I got like all of these like 7 8 figure entrepreneurs, it makes my show credible. I even got Amanda Holmes, which is the daughter of Chet Holmes. The daughter of Chet Holmes on my show
Wow.
itself. So all of these happen like that. I even have right now. I have so many shows booked up for, let's say, for the next 8 weeks. It's like 8 weeks are pretty booked. I even booked like John Lee Dumas and like George Forty is coming tomorrow. There are other like two CCC award winner who's getting on the show as well next week. Yeah.
Wow. Congratulations, by the way, for getting
Thank
all
you
these
so
amazing
much.
people on your show.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, you have all these amazing entrepreneurs, and you have entrepreneurs who is doing Facebook marketing, who is doing the six-figure launch, who is doing the high ticket offer, sending high ticket offer, right? And who exactly do you target? Actually, it's kind of like it's not really clear to me because these are all people who has their own expertise, and what kind of criteria that you pick in each one of them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So are you talking about when I reached out to them for the interview? Is that what you mean?
No. I mean, like, how do you choose your Dream 100 list specifically?
Okay. So how I
Yeah.
really built my Dream 100 list is I wanted to make sure what are the things that I really do, or what are the things that are essential in the market, and who are the people who are the best in that stuff. Because if you see my book, there are different chapters, different topics, different experts. But if you notice one thing, everything
Yeah.
is kind of like interrelated with each other. Well, even though if you're doing affiliate marketing, you can do high ticket affiliate marketing. If you do affiliate marketing, you need to know how to build good offers. Let's say if you're selling an affiliate product, you have to understand, let's say, what's the content structure of it, how to make good content. Let's say if you are a product owner, if you want to recruit affiliates, you have to understand how to recruit good affiliates. So everything is kind of related with each other, and everything kind of is as well. So I wanted to have a different aspect and a different people who are really good into it, because everything is related to each other, whatever you really do. Even if you're health market, you
Mm-hmm.
need content. you need high ticket sort of value ladder or sort of stuff. You need to have a process launch. You have to understand how to build your audience, how to turn that content into profit. So everything was related for me. So for my understanding out there, what I really thought about building my Dream 100, who are the people that is related to what I really do, or what is related to what the market I am in, and let's focus on those people and build it as a list, because there are people gonna understand what I talk about, and my people really know who they are or what they talk about. So that's how my criteria came up for my Dream 100 list. Even at the moment, I have like 80 to 90 people in my list, not complete 100. You don't need 100 people in your Dream 100. It could be 10, it could be 20 in the initial start, it could be 5 as well. But yeah, later on, you add on these people.
Wow, that's actually 80 is a pretty good list. It's
Yeah,
pretty big.
it
Yeah,
is. It is.
and
It is pretty big.
yeah, I personally only have like 30 to 40 just to be a
It's
guest on
still
my
good,
show. Right,
and
right, it's
it's
still
still good,
good.
by the way.
Wow.
Yeah, it is. Like,
Oh,
here's
thank
the
you.
thing. Like, you have to understand one thing. Like, even I have like 80 people in my Dream 100 list. There are 55 of them I got on the show. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
So the rest of the people started to add gradually. You don't need to sit down and list down all of your Dream 100. There are going to be some people in your journey that you're going to realize that these are the people that are worth to follow, worth to watch content, worth to build a relation. You have to understand what that particular relation is really worth. So you have to understand the worth factor into it.
Yeah. I see. I remember I read your book, and the first chapter you talk about how you started with online marketing. You started
Yeah,
selling OFA challenge, and you got 2 months free of ClickFunnels, which is awesome.
yeah,
And I remember you said you gave you trade with a guy who was you know how do I say this? Okay, so the first commission you got was from
yeah.
OFA challenge, right? So
True.
you said that you trade a free course, Facebook ads course with him, right?
Yeah, so let me explain how that thing really happened. How that actually happened was, there was a guy who needed a Facebook ads course, and I was in,
Okay.
I was kind of in a kind of a mastermind, or like a free mastermind or something like that. They provided me bonus offers, bonuses that you can go in and provide as an offer when someone buys something from you. So it had an awesome Facebook ads course, and from a guy who already spent $2 to $3 million on Facebook ads. So when that person needed the
Mhm.
Facebook ads course, I was like, hey man, I'm gonna provide you this as a bonus for free, even though that's worth $500, which it was for when you buy one funnel away challenge through me. And he was like,
Mm.
okay, why pay $500? Let's get it for $100 kind of. It was really good offer. It wasn't like bragging for having a
Wow.
value of this, and it wasn't valued at that. It was valued at $500. So that was my very first commission was $100.
Yeah.
And I was like, out of the world. So yeah.
Okay. Wow, that's nice. And what did you do with the 100 at that time? $100 at that time. What did you do with
I
that?
haven't I haven't spent anything at the moment, because ClickFunnels take like 45 days. I had to give you your first commission. So within that
Uh huh.
typical period of time, it I got like 3 sales in that exact same month. It was $300. So when I got $300 finally, after like around 45 to 60 days in my bank, I was like, okay, the very first investment what I did, I got ClickFunnels. Now I was like, okay, I have $300. I can use ClickFunnels for almost like 3 months. Let's see, and
Yeah.
let's have a look and see like if ClickFunnels gonna work for me or not. And from ever since, I'm using ClickFunnels. I'm paying for ClickFunnels every single month. So that was my very first investment I had in my mind, using ClickFunnels, and I used it, and I never stopped using it ever since.
Wow. Wow. Wow, that's cool. That's cool. And all right. So you start with selling that course, okay? And how did you get started with affiliate marketing? Because right now you have a group of affiliate marketing, right? And you're also teaching people how to Dream 100 people. So
Yeah.
When did you start affiliate marketing? When did you start Dream100? Which one did you start exactly?
So I started, in the initial start, I started with ecom, when I started in 2018. But in January, when I
Yeah.
got into sort of ClickFunnels world, I was more attracted to affiliate marketing because I was watching other people getting those orange bars. So I wanted to make an affiliate commission. I wanted to make money. And even when I got ClickFunnels for free for like 2 months, I was using ClickFunnels with an intention of promoting ClickFunnels as an affiliate and making my first commissions. So I remember there was a time when I ran a solo ad, and there was one of my really good friend now. I reached out to him. I was like, man, I used solo ads. It didn't work for me. How can I make money? How can I run paid ads? I was super frustrated, super desperate because I wanted to make my first $100. He said to me one thing, which now
Mm.
makes complete sense. Is like, man, you have to build a skill, then you build an audience to monetize that skill. Like he said something similar to it, and I was like, hey man, I was super frustrated. I was like, tell me the stuff. Even though that was harsh at that moment, it was fact. And later on, I started to understand those stuff. So I started doing affiliate marketing. I still do it, by the way, but I do other things as well, especially the Dream100 stuff. But I started with affiliate marketing, especially, and then in 2020 last year, I started to teach Dream100. So kind of like almost uh, yeah, kind of almost like
Oh,
more than 1 year sort of a difference out there.
wow, that's cool. I never knew that. In fact, I actually recently just know that you are also into the affiliate marketing. Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
And so, I want to know what was the mistake that you made when you are dream 100 people.
Yeah. So, yeah, for myself personally, the mistakes that I really made is, first of all, for some people really are not your dream 100. You know what I mean? You don't have to, someone who have a big audience, it doesn't mean it have to be in your dream 100 out there. The people who really align what you are about or what your understanding is should be your dream 100. When you create your dream 100 list out there, you have to make sure you have to create a not to do dream 100 list as well. You know, when I started to
Mm.
do show, and I started to understand that, hey, I have my own authority, especially I have my own criteria now. What are the people I need to get on my show, even though if they're 7 figure or 8 figure earner. There are some people out there I said no, or there are some people who I haven't reached out to them. Why? Because they're not my dream 100 list. Not everyone is. Not everyone aligns how you think. Not everyone aligns how you talk about stuff. So you have to follow those people who aligns in your way where you want to lead to. Not everyone is gonna be your dream 100. So that was the very first mistake. Then I started to eliminate some people out there. I really did. I'm super glad that I really did that, because they don't really care about you. They care about themselves. They care about what money they make, and that's okay for them. But it's not just about money. You are here to make money. That makes sense. But it's not just making money. It's not like that.
Yeah.
So create a not to do dream 100 list as well. Create a list of people you really don't want to dream 100, because there are so many influencers. You have to make sure who you follow. And the second mistake that I really made is, again, that's the exact same thing. Sometimes when I really started out, I was like asking right away for them to promote
Mm.
something like that. You don't have to do it right away. It happens with a certain moment, certain time it really comes. So being good at least timing, but do ask. I asked when I got a coaching call with Dana. I asked with him. Uh, I asked with him to be on my show. Okay, so I asked Dana when I got in a coaching call with him to be on my show. When I asked, if I haven't asked him, he would have been the part of my show. He would have done that training in my masterclass. But I really asked, and I really know that he is my dream 100. So understand who's your dream 100 is, understand who's not your dream 100, and understand what is the time where you have to ask any particular person. So these are the kind of mistake that I really did. Now I'm like, I know where to hold myself, where to ask myself. So yeah, that's the thing.
Okay, that's cool. And I want to know what kind of mistakes that your students make, the students that purchase your Dream 100 masterclass. What kind of mistakes that you see that they did?
Yeah, so like for me being, I teach people how to do Dream 100 by using show itself. So now if I'm a host and if I have done like so many interviews, I kind of have like host vibes. So even though if I get on any show, I know what that person really doing, or I really know how that person is leading things to the flow, or if that thing really gonna make sense or not. So one of the common mistakes, what some of the people who are the part of my masterclass do, is they're not consistent. They know they have to. Like even
Yeah.
today, I was talking with some of my students, and they were like, they literally said that we know that this works. We have to be more consistent to it. So they are not consistent in doing shows. You know what I mean? Doesn't matter what frequency
Mm-hmm.
you do. It doesn't matter if you do two a week, one a week, three times a week, once a month. I don't suggest once a month, but like once a week is a good number. But you have to stay consistent with it. That's how you create existence. That's how people understand you have a show that exists. How people know about it that I have a show outside of what I do. It's because I was consistent. I was doing consistently. So that consistent part is something that they really lack, and I push them every single day. I was like, why are you really waiting? Because I want to be a person out there who really push them up to do that implementation part, because I know if that thing works, I want to show them how this works, but I want to let them know, hey, you have to do the stuff. So yeah, I think being consistent is something that's huge that they really miss out, you know. And yeah, that's the thing. There are some of my students who really
Mm-hmm.
got like some awesome guests on their show. They got Marley, they got Catherine, they got Steve Larson. These are really good people on their show. It means that they've been
Yeah.
able to build some pretty good relations with them as well. One of my students also got Dave Woodward on his show as well. So the next part comes on them building relation, and I can tell them how to do it, but they have to do it. It's their due diligence, you know. So yeah, that's our kind of mistake that they really make,
Mm-hmm.
and I let them know, hey, don't do it.
Oh, nice. And all right. So what is your advice to the people that doesn't have a show that wants to Dream 100? Is there a better way to do that?
I suggest them build a show. That's the very first thing, and I kind of
Mm,
proved that like many times, because how you can really attract those people to even notice you. How that gonna really happen? It's gonna happen. Okay, you're providing value that makes sense, but how that really happen that it's gonna make sense for them to even like bother to spend the time with you. When you're doing an interview, you're really spending a time that you probably pay hundreds or even thousands, in general. So when you're really spending that time, you're literally leveraging that thing out there as well. So some people who don't have a show, or some people who kind of start out and do interview lives and just do interview lives, and they don't name it as a show. First of all, name it as a show, because that name creates your brand around your show itself, and then do it in a frequency based consistently, and do it. If you don't do it, it's gonna be like you do it one week, and next week you don't do it, and you have a gap for the next week. If you had the intention of doing it like every single week and you haven't done that, you're really missing that thing out. And if you understand that really Dream 100 is the thing of how you can really leverage those relations, because relations are the key. Social media are again sort of go and go on side of stuff. I got Facebook slap last year. I know how it feels like, and I always
mm-hmm.
say that when you're on a platform and when you went out and people don't even knew that you existed, you didn't have an audience. You build an audience, and how you build an audience is by any means, by your content, or by your distribution channel, by your show. People have to feel when you get out of the stuff, they have to feel your existence. If they don't feel, you pretty much don't exist in the space right now, you know. So yeah, that
Yeah.
is what my take is. Build a show, name it as a show, do it consistently. That's really gonna help. You're gonna let me know about that as well if you know how to do it.
Yeah, yeah, you are the living proof of publish for a year. You know the quote, that quote,
Yeah,
publish for a year and come back to me, and I don't remember the quote,
yeah.
but
Russell
that kind
Brunson
of,
said, publish for 365 days and your life gonna change. That's what he said.
yeah, okay, that thing. Wow, you are the living proof of that. I really applaud you for that. So to all listeners, please publish the show. Okay, make your own show or anything. Right, it's really crucial
Yeah,
though. And yeah, and
it
RJ
is.
is the living proof. Yeah. So we are close to the end today. What's your final takeaway that our listeners can really get from our chat here?
I think, guys, just don't compare yourself. Okay, don't compare. When you start to compare and your comparison kills your creativity, you have to think about that particular thing. Okay, even in this complete conversation we talked about like so many entrepreneurs who are like 7 8 figures. When you get into this particular circle, even though you're not making that much, you start to compare yourself with them, which you shouldn't, or you're not supposed to. Those people who are making 6 figures a day, 6 figures a week, 7 figures a month, or 7 figures a week, they have spent a lot of time. They have spent decades of doing their particular stuff. It's not rich quick scheme. It's not happen like the very next day. And if you're not getting motivated by watching someone else getting results, unfollow that person out of respect, because you're not in a state of mind you're happy or motivated by watching someone else getting results. So don't compare.
Yeah.
That's the last thing I want to say.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing. That's the hardest thing to overcome, because
Yeah,
as most people start, they always see someone like, they always want to compare.
yeah.
And yeah, don't compare. How do we make a mindset of not comparing ourselves?
I think here's the thing out there. I'm not gonna say how you can, because everyone face everything every single day. Like I face it as well, because when my circle grows, I have to cope up with that. I have to make sure I focus on my stuff. So how I really do it, I first of all make sure I focus on my stuff. So how I really do it, I first of all make sure I unfollow that monetary sort of stuff, the people income screenshot, their Lambos. I make sure that I unfollow that person. If I if I have to watch that, if I have to watch any of them content, I just go in and search. And I'm not going to lie, I keep going in and search and watch their content. First of all, don't watch their content. And a second thing, try to get that in your mind that those people are already into the space. One of the biggest newbie mistakes they make is they get into the space, they are watching other people making money, and they start compare like why. Just understand they are before you. They have learned all those things that you need to learn, and now you have to learn and to do it. And the last thing, you are in your own journey. Okay, someone in their 20s, someone in their 30s, someone in their 40s, even married yet. Some people are single. You're in your own journey. Set your own goals, set your own expectations, set your how you really want to do it. So these are typical 3 ways I really try to do it on my own self. Hey, let's say if I'm achieving something out there, they're probably saying no. I have a
Wow.
show, some people don't even have it. I have those connections, some people don't even have it. I have a book, many people don't have it. Away, and the way you do it is acknowledging yourself where you are at the moment. So yeah, that's how I overcome.
Wow, love that, brother. So you have a book now, and who is this book for?
Yeah, the book, which is Decades in Days, I think it's a book for every entrepreneur who is starting out or are in the intermediate phase of building their business online. So the subtitle of the book itself says everything. Learn from decades of experience of successful entrepreneurs on how to build yourself and your business online. So it is for the people who are starting out or in the middle phase. One of the guy asked me a really good question. He said, "Will a $10 million per year person is a good fit for reading this book?" I said, "Yes, kind of. Not every chapters, but there are guys like, let's say, Dave Woodward. There are guys like Shakir Hussain who are making a lot of money and they knows a lot of stuff. Let's say even let's say for Dave Woodward, he's CEO of ClickFunnels. It's a $1 billion company, so he really knows
Yeah.
culture more. He really knows systems more. He really knows how to like handle all of those things. So not every chapter of the book, but they can absolutely learn from the book itself.
Nice. Okay, so now that people know who is this for, how about who is this not for?
This is not for the people who think they knows everything.
Yeah,
Easy criteria.
that's awesome.
I think Yeah, that's the easy criteria out there. Simple.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
All right. So, RJ, thank you for sharing your insights and ideas with us. Really happy to have you here.
Thank you so much, man. And yeah, thank you so much for having me on your show today.
All right. So, and for the listeners, I'll catch you another time.
Bye bye.